chill out.
I'm just gonna stay quiet from here on out.
Yeah, right.
Now, we're going to continue to be in recess while we go into Board of Canvas. And I
Mr.
believe-
Chair, I make a motion that we go into Board of Canvas.
Second.
Motion made and second to go in Board of Canvas. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Mandy Park.
Okay. Where am I? I should have got ready while I was on break. Huh? All of your canvas deeds. Totally not ready. The canvas report was in your packet, and it's right here in front of me. We had a total of 1,657 votes cast on tabulators. We had one hand tally vote that was too wrinkled to fit through the machine after it came back in the mail. We had one provisional ballot for a total of 1,659 votes. We have that one provisional ballot. The voter would like for you to consider accepting his ballot as a valid ballot. He changed his address from a county address to a city address, and he had requested his ballot and verified his address, which he still owns the property in the county, and he also owns the property in town. And he lives at the property in town, but had not updated his ballot. He did not cast the ballot that he received first. He marked the replacement ballot that he was reissued after the change. If you accept that ballot, then it would be 1,659 total votes. My recommendation is to accept that ballot, seeing how as he did not request or did not mark the first ballot. The absentee board met on November 7th with 3 members. There was one provisional ballot issued. I just went over that. There were no absentee ballots rejected. There were 111 applications for absentee ballots submitted by the deadline. 111 ballots were mailed out to voters. There were 90 of those ballots received back prior to the 7 p.m. deadline. 89 of those were processed on the absentee tabulator. One was hand tallied. There were no additional ballots received after, and unless it came in today's mail, we still have not received any additional ballots. There were 3 that did not include the name of the declared write-in candidate. Both Dora and Elida had a write-in race. 3 of the write-ins, of 3 of the 9 write-ins for the Elida candidate did not include his name. So 6 of the 9 write-ins for Elida were counted, and all 6 for Dora included the name of Miss Victor. So she received 6 votes for that council position. There were a total of 22 same-day voter registrations processed in Roosevelt County during early voting. Most of those were address updates. There were 14 same-day registrations processed on Election Day, also mostly address updates. There were 3 absentee ballots delivered to the secure drop box. All 3 of those were at this drop box outside the courthouse. The other 2 were not utilized. I will stand for any questions. Or do you have any questions on the results of the races? Those were also included in your packet.
Roy Lee, you're good.
What was the total percentage of voters?
Oh, yeah, I meant to tell you that too. 16.79%, which is up from last regular local election in 21, had a total of 8%. Miss Summers, the clerk in Elida, asked for that same information. She wanted to know if opting in increased voter participation, and it nearly tripled in Elida, and it nearly doubled for the city of Portales in voter participation.
But there's still voter apathy big time unless it's a general election, right?
16.79% is double what it was
Right.
prior.
But there's still
yes,
voter
there is
apathy.
still voter apathy.
Yeah.
16%.
Okay.
I was hoping
People need to
for-
get out and vote.
Yeah, I was hoping
You
for
know, be part of the
14.
solution, not the problem. And I'm going to continue to say that. Everybody complains, but they don't go out and vote. So,
I was hopeful for 14%. We got 16.79%.
Good.
Questions?
Are you
Yes.
done with this?
Yes.
Okay, we need to take action and approve.
Yes.
We need to accept that ballot. Do we need to
I think we
approve
need
the
to
ballot that was the address change
accept
ballot?
the
Provisional.
first.
just for clarification purposes, do we need to come out of Canvas Board?
No,
No.
ma'am.
You make your,
Okay.
take your action as canvas.
I'll move to approve presentation by our County Clerk Mandy Parks as presented.
With the acceptance of the ballot.
Accepting the provisional ballot.
Yeah, with accepting the provisional ballot.
I thought you included.
Sorry. Mr. Chairman,
Second.
I'm so sorry.
Made the second to approve. Roy Lee?
Yes.
Tina?
Yes.
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 5 yes votes.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to adjourn the canvas board.
Second.
Okay, motion made and second to come out of canvas board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have now reconvened as Board of Commission. Okay, item 9B, presentation of Portales Fire
Hey.
Department.
Hey.
A.
9A.
Mr. Kathy. Fire Chief Kathy.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So, as a negotiator for the city of Portales, we just thought that we kind of missed the mark with dispatch when we weren't able to actually have a presentation for you guys, so that you guys everybody gets the information that we see in negotiations. So, you know, it's just the presentation from Fire Chief Kathy that we're going to present today. So we appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Board. I'd also like to thank retired Chief Knuckles and Chiefs Lang, Luscombe, and Bilbrey from Dora, Millensan and Arch that may be able to answer some questions that I'm not able to if it pertains to their departments. If at any point you have any questions, feel free to stop me or statements, and we'll be glad to go over those. Moving on to the second slide, our community is extremely blessed to have such high quality services provided by volunteer and paid departments alike to our community. We have 2 county volunteer departments, Arch and Millensan, 4 municipal volunteer departments, Floyd, Elida, Dora, and Ghazi, and then Portales Fire is the 1 full-time paid municipal department. Going on to the next slide, it shows that we have 24 operations personnel with 3 shifts of 8. Each shift has a battalion chief, a lieutenant, a second lieutenant, and 5 firefighters. And then for administration staff, you have myself, Patty, there's our EMS billing specialist, and now a no longer part-time, a full-time EMS billing clerk. Moving on to the next slide, we have 7 paramedics, 7 intermediates, 4 EMT basics, and 12 personnel currently enrolled in EMS classes. 5 in paramedic, 3 in AEMT or intermediate, and 4 in EMT basic. Moving on to the next slide, we look at our fire certifications. We have 9 personnel with no certifications, 16 personnel with firefighter 1 and 2, 3 driver operators, 3 hazmat technicians, 5 with fire instructor, 5 with fire officer 1, 2 with fire officer 2, and 1 with fire officer 3. Moving on to the next slide, it talks about our training hours. New hires go through approximately 350 hours of new hire orientation training, as well as our annual ISO and EMS recertification training of 336 hours. An EMT basic course is 150 hours. It's a full semester long, as well as intermediate. That's also a full semester long. And then the paramedic course is the big one at right at 1,600 hours of training. So if we take a new hire with no experience, no certifications through EMT Basic, Fire 1 and 2, and Intermediate, they have about 1,710 total hours of training. And then if we extend past that with annual training, driver, operator, and paramedic, they've got 4,170 hours of total training. Now, if grants aren't available, if scholarships are not available, it costs us about $5,000 to send one person to EMT Basic class. It costs about $11,000 to send one person to Intermediate. And it costs about $50,000 to send somebody to paramedic. Moving on to the next slide, we'll talk about the apparatus we have. We have 4 Type 1 ambulances, 2 Class A Type 1 engines, one of which is a rescue engine, 2 Class A Type 4 engines, 3 brush trucks, 2 tenders, and 1 aerial apparatus. Going on to the next slide, we're going to look at our run volume for last fiscal year based on the actual calls for service from July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. We had 3,489 total calls for service. 87.4% were for EMS and 12.6% were fire. 80.4% originated inside the city limits and 19.6% originated outside the city limits. Moving on to the next slide, we're going to look at our total funding for last fiscal year. Our total operating budget was just under $4.1 million. That includes fire fund from the state fire marshal's office, which attributed 9.9% of our total operating budget. EMS Fund Act from the Department of Health through the state, which was 0.4% of our budget. Then our city funded budget at just under 2.8 million at 68.4% of our total operating budget. And then that's supported by our EMS billing revenue, which our billing specialists do an amazing job. And that covered 20.4% of our total operating budget. County reimbursements for services at 0.7% of our total operating budget. And then wildland reimbursements for grass fires was 0.2% of our total operating budget. Going on to the next slide, the total cost to provide service. If you take our total operating budget divided by the number of calls that we had during that budget, that fiscal year, it cost $1,170.19 for every call. EMS billing covered a little under $240 of every call. Fire fund, a little over $115 of every call. EMS fund, $4.30 of every call. Wildland reimbursement, just under $2 a call. Roosevelt County reimbursement for services, just under $9 per call. And City of Portales covered $800.68 for each call. So if we move on to the next slide, we can take our city funded budget. So taking out the grant funding, state fire marshal funds, EMS billing, and looking at what it costs the City of Portales to provide services, take our little less than 2.8 million, subtract what we made in EMS billing revenue, and that gives us a remaining cost of just under 2 million. Then apply the percentages of run volume from city to county. It cost the City of Portales a little less than 1.6 million to provide services inside the city limits, and then a little less than 384,000 to provide services outside the municipality of the City of Portales. Moving on to the next slide, some of our drastic needs. We need to add personnel so that we can increase our response capability so that our personnel are safer and the community is safer. We need to add a 5th Type 1 ambulance. We haven't increased the number of ambulances we've had since 1989, from what I can see in our data. And we've seen a 200% increase in run volume since that time frame. So not only do we need to increase personnel, we needed a 5th ambulance, and it would be nice that if it was 4-wheel drive. We need to update our cardiac monitors. We need a new fully equipped rescue engine. Our current one's 20 years old, and the extrication equipment on it is also 20 years old. And with the updates in current vehicles, it may have a hard time extricating victims if we don't receive that funding for the extrication equipment. And then we need to improve pay to retain and recruit retain our highly trained personnel that we pay for and recruit trained personnel. If we move on to the next slide, it's an excerpt from the New Mexico County Commission Handbook. Under the power granted to counties to protect the general welfare of its citizens, fire protection and emergency medical services are a function of the county. Moving on to the next slide, NMSA 4-36-5 says counties may contract with municipalities for the purchase of firefighting services when such services are needed. When in the opinion of the Board of County Commissioners, such services may be more economically provided by such contracts than maintaining firefighting services by the county. With that, the contract price shall be based upon the cost of services, depreciation of the equipment, and the cost of insurance necessary or desirable to protect the municipality while engaged in extraterritorial firefighting under a contract with the county. Moving on to the next statute that pertains to EMS. It's New Mexico Statute, Chapter 5, Article 1, Section 5-1-1. A municipality or county may provide ambulance services or contract with other political subdivisions or with private ambulance services for the operation of its ambulance service. So with that, I would ask if you have any questions for the volunteers before I round out my time.
I have no question.
I don't have any questions. I'd like to say thank you. It's
Yes, sir.
a very nice presentation.
I'd like to request if the firefighter volunteers from the county have any input in lieu of us asking you guys questions. Do y'all have any input to just kind of educate us more on everything that's going on? No?
Are you asking, these gentlemen here are county fire, I'm municipal, so are you
yes.
asking all three of us, or are you asking?
Well, I'm just feedback. Any feedback is good feedback to me. The more I'm educated in this whole thing, the better. Even what you presented, thank you so much for being here. It educated me a lot. I mean, I had never seen the statutes, ordinances, and I don't mean to be naive or ignorant to the whole thing, but thank you for being here. So I was just any additional feedback. I mean,
The issues that we're running into are the same issues that Chief Kathy's running into, and that's retention, recruitment. Volunteer services are dying. We're less than 10 years away from there not being any volunteer services in Roosevelt County at this point in time.
Commissioner Dixon, do you want to mention what we were going to advocate for with the whole certification process? Remember we talked about this a few years ago.
I think a lot of the issues are, and I'm thinking Chief Kathy would agree with me. A lot of the issues are with the volunteer fire departments are the schooling, the education, the fact that you have to go through all of the training hours, you have to go through all of that just to be a volunteer, which makes it incredibly hard because as volunteers, we all have other jobs. So then you're having to keep up with all of those hours and you just can't. It's a financial burden. It's a burden on the volunteer fire departments, as I'm sure it is on the paid fire departments as well. Is that what you're talking about, Dennis?
Yes, Commissioner.
I think
We're
that
gonna address
that's
it with
probably
the-
going to be a problem with everybody.
Well, this gentleman just said within 10 years, it may be obsolete. We may not have. So we need more incentives, not more things that are detrimental to promoting individuals who are willing to volunteer. And I think we need to advocate that on a statewide process. And
I agree.
we can talk to the higher level people at a later time, possibly even today on our agenda item G.
Okay, I agree with you. And are you finished? Are you wanting me to ask you questions yet?
You can ask me questions at any time. I do have one more slide to
Okay,
cover.
if
but-
you want to go ahead and do it, go ahead.
So there's been a lot of talk in this meeting about investments, and I understand that's a huge part of what a governing body does. But of course, me as the fire chief, I believe there's no better investment than into the safety of our public. That being said, I understand that the Board of County Commissioners has the right to choose the fire and EMS services provided between municipal boundaries, but would like to respectfully request that the commission consider entering into agreement with the City of Portales Fire Department to provide such services that may be more economically provided by such contracts than maintaining services by the county within E911 Response Zone 461, our most populated zone, and appropriate agreements with our volunteer departments throughout our community that provide such great services. The services we provide are, in my opinion, undeniably important and necessity. So I'll stand for any questions.
Mr. Chair.
Tina, before you speak, if you don't mind, TJ is very passionate about his department. By no means are we here, to talk numbers or anything. He just knows that his department has a very high service to be able to service the county residents, and he's very proud of that, as are we, and as are you guys. I mean, When you use his service, you know that you're going to get the greatest service that you possibly can. If you have to, there's something, if you have to do an ambulance service, it's going to be costly. We've looked into privatizing our ambulance service, and it would cost about 1.2 million, a little over 1.2 million dollars to get that done, when we have the personnel in place to get it done. Another thing is that I just wanted to mention was our ISO rating. With servicing the county, that makes our ISO rating higher, which helps with insurance premiums. And if something happens to where we just do the city lines, city limits, then TJ, can you kind of talk
Yes.
on that?
So we as first responders don't get to determine where we respond, our district. We can make a recommendation on what we feel is best, and we can look at the history of the service to see what is the best mechanism for that service. But according to New Mexico statutes, that falls on the governing body for that service. So for us, that falls on the city of Portales. For Russell and Jay, that's y'all. For Paul, that's the village of Dora, and so on. So if an agreement can't be made between the two entities, because it's really up to the Board of County Commission to determine what services you want provided your constituents. And if the agreement can't be made and we're not the ones that you select to provide that service, then the city council may choose to pull back to the city limits. In that event, depending on how ISO views who's taking over that area, that could make residents and businesses outside the municipality of Portales within E911 Response Zone 461 an automatic 10, to where it's very difficult, if not impossible, to obtain insurance. Is that what you wanted me to say, ma'am?
So I'm going to throw this out, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. So if somebody was to have any type of injury where they needed y'all services, like at Red Wine Estates, which is right there at city limits, they would have to call on Floyd to come from Floyd.
Well, that's going to be up to the fiscal agent for Floyd Fire Department to determine where they reside.
So would y'all feel comfortable?
Well, we as first responders don't feel comfortable. Somebody needs help, we're going to go help. It's not up to us.
Okay,
It's
I'm
up
just,
to the governing bodies to.
Okay,
Just wanna
wait.
get all the information out there, just so you guys know what could possibly happen.
My hope is that an agreement can be made so that we can continue providing a high quality service to all the community, and we can continue working together to protect our community.
Okay, I have something to say
Yes, ma'am.
on all of it. I appreciate your presentation. I think you did an outstanding job.
Thank you.
I am super happy that all of the volunteer fire departments are here. I think that's great. Just to let everybody know, I am on Elida Fire and EMS, so I am a volunteer over there. But with what all you're saying, I understand all of this, but I want to first say that what we're doing is with the county money. This is not our personal pocketbook.
Mhm.
This is with the taxpayer dollars. When we do things with the taxpayer dollars, we have to look at the whole picture. We also had to go through the dispatch services, which we did. We do several things that we do together that we have to work through. Sometimes you have to do a little more here for a little more there, because it's all about the taxpayers at the end of the day. Whether you're in the city of Portales, the town of Elida, Floyd, Dora, or in Roosevelt County, it's all about the taxpayers. It's all about the people. So yes, we do care about the people, but I think a lot of times this has been construed as that the Roosevelt County doesn't care about the people because we want to cut the lines back, when that's not true. We don't want to do that. We do want to. But you know what? We also care about the people when we're worried about detention. When we did this fight with detention, because you know what? We have a mental health problem all over the world. We have it right here in Roosevelt County. And when we were worried about detention and we're trying to figure out how to do that, everybody's throwing out statutes and this and that. And it's going to depend on how you read it. But again, it's just like this. At the end of the day, it's about the people. When you know what? There wasn't a whole lot of consideration taken when we were going through that. And I know that I think I have a very good rapport with the majority of the people on the city council. on a personal basis, I get along with everybody on there. I get along well with you.
Sure.
This is not about a personal thing. This is about taxpayer dollars. And when we want to go into that, we can get along. We have discussed this as a board of commissioners in open meeting every single time. We have offered out several things. The four of us, which was Commissioner Criswell, myself, Councilwoman, and Councilman Heflin, we all sat down. We've come up with several things. What the city council knows, I don't know, because we've never received anything in writing back. You've never discussed it in open meeting. It's never been discussed out there in open meeting of what your plans were with any of the ideas that we've sent forward. We have discussed them in open meeting every time I've come back with one. We have done that.
So the last council meeting that we had, I did bring that up in public comment.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I was just under the understanding that when we sent those figures back and y'all were meeting, it was just kind of like a stencil because we hadn't scheduled another meeting. But you are absolutely correct. It is all about the people. And that's why I'm here, is because, you know, we need to take care of everybody. We are all Roosevelt County. Portales is in Roosevelt County.
It is.
We are all one. So, you know, you and I have said that over and over in our meetings.
We
which,
have.
You know, I'm proud to say that, just like you're proud to say that. But we do, you know, we do need to move forward. This presentation was not meant for.
And
you
it's
know,
not, and I'm glad that we're
Yeah.
doing it. But
Yeah.
the thing is if we want to look at all of this, and there's other information. So when you're talking about EMS runs, okay, so because it's outside of the city limits of Portales, but you know what? For example, at the hospital or the detention center or whatever, we have indigent funds that we can cover people that were in the detention center at a certain time or whatever that had to go to the hospital with indigent funds. That would be something that we could look into for these ones that are not being paid, that are not, but
I do believe, and the billing specialist can answer that better. I do believe that she does work with the county to get those paid
okay,
based on what the PRC tariff allows us to
Right.
charge.
but at
for
the
an EMS
same
call.
time, how many of these people that you're picking up if it's an accident on the highway that are even Roosevelt County residents? I mean, are they Roosevelt County residents? Is it up to Roosevelt County to pay for other things, just like the city of,
driving through, that
is
what you're
that
saying?
somebody's just driving
As
through?
I said before, both statutes say may.
They
I'm not
say
trying
may,
to say that you have to.
right? None of that city.
I'm not trying to cast doubt or say that y'all have done anything
Right.
wrong. I'm just up here to advocate for our department and the volunteers department and the high quality services that we've always provided. We're here. We're ready. We want to be who you choose to provide that service. I've been asked many times, well, what's your number? I'm not authorized to negotiate, but me as the fire chief, I'm not caught up on a number of what the negotiators need to get to.
Right.
But there's no agreement in place. I can't find an agreement between Roosevelt County and the city of Portales for fire and EMS. So that casts a little doubt on whether or not we have the authority without an agreement to respond outside the city limits. Now, we want to be that go-to agency. We're high quality. We do a great job. But that's going to be up to the agreement that y'all put in place.
And
I
I
think
agree,
when
but I
it
also
works-
think that it's important that if we're going to do an agreement with you being paid, we have every one of these volunteer fire departments that I think
Mhm.
are just as important. And I mean,
don't
they
doubt
all
that.
go out there, you know, they're at everything. So, and I just know that we all have our area and we all get on this because that's what we want to do. We have a heart for this. And if it's going to come down to the dollar signs with the city council saying, okay, well, we're not going to go outside the city limits. That's on the city of
council has
Portales.
never
We have
said that, and I want to
it
be
was-
very
yes,
clear.
it was just, we're just giving you.
I realize,
scenarios.
but it could happen anywhere. The town of Elida, the village of Floyd,
Mhm.
any of
Yes.
them can say, nope, we're not going outside of here. We all have that.
Yes.
Anybody can do that. It's your ISO rating or your PRC or whatever you want to do. And you can do that. But I don't think that we need to just keep going back and forth and fighting over everything. When we did this with detention over and over and over. You know what? There wasn't a whole lot of give there.
And that was what my goal was here, was for TJ to actually present so that you would know, and then request that maybe your detention department head could come to us and report, do a presentation to us to report that, so that we're all on the same page and we all know what we're paying for, what we're footing for. It's not about the dollar signs, it's about the citizens.
I've got something to say. So I was born and raised here with the exception when I went off to college. What's broken that needs to be fixed? The fact that the city's broke? Is that what it is? That all this is surfacing all of a sudden? Because I grew up born and raised all through the 70s, 80s, up until I left college. And everything's worked out right where we kind of take care of each other as one community. And all of a sudden now we're having this little battle between, it all boils down to monies.
So it's not a battle. So we do have to have, and Amber can attest to this, we have to have a contractor, a JPA in place for both of us legally. I mean, Amber needs that, the city needs that. It's just to protect both entities. We're just wanting to get because, I mean, you stepped down from the negotiations because it wasn't going anywhere. We just need to move forward instead of moving backwards. And it's not about fighting. We're not here to fight. We're just here to give you information. That's all we wanted to do. Plus, we want information from your entity, from detention. We want you guys to schedule on our agenda so that you can come and present to us.
That would be great. And so on the billing that you give on that $300 and something, so, and I guess you would be the one to ask. So on those particular runs that were in the county, how many of those did you receive any kind of payment for?
Well, it depends on what their insurance was, whether they're Medicaid covered by Medicare,
Right.
Medicaid, private insurance. We would bill their insurance. They would, of course, have
Right.
maybe a deductible that was due. There's no telling what they're going to actually reimburse us. But for most of the county residents that we run on, they are Medicare patients, and we do get reimbursed on those.
Okay, so I don't see, so to me, that would be double billing. If Medicare's already paid, then why would we pay
Can you go
again?
to the next slide, Amber? So what an ALS level 2 per PRC, what they say we can bill is how much?
For an ALS2,
Yeah, the most expensive.
that would be $978.
Okay, so that's roughly $200 that it costs more than we are allowed to bill. And then Medicare and Medicaid reimbursements only cover so much, a percentage.
They would cover $400.
It costs more to provide the service than we earn. This is a true service, not a business. There's no way we'll ever make enough money to pay for our existence.
Right, but I'm saying, if they have that insurance and that's what covers, if that's what covers theirs, that's what they're going to get at the doctor's office. So why are we then wanting to pay for a bill that's already been paid, regardless?
A lot of our patients are private pay. They do not have Medicaid, Medicare, private insurance. A lot of our patients are private pay.
Well, there's a 3-month retroactive, and with the universal health coverage, why are you guys not referring them to the appropriate individuals that?
Do it. They have to want to go down and apply for that.
Well, send them to me. I'm serious.
A lot,
Send them to me. That's
I
the
just-
whole purpose for the universal health coverage. No one should be uninsured right now.
and there's so many people out there that are still uninsured.
Wow.
I would just
Wow.
like to see the bills that are for Roosevelt County that were not paid by insurance, not
We
paid
don't
by
have the
something.
staff to tabulate that. That would require 2 more full-time people
But
on
it
top
would-
of.
It would actually give us a more level playing field to know what the bill really should
What the
be.
just desserts would be.
That would,
Which, and the way it's calculated on the percentages, both entities see the benefits of insurance billing on both sides. Because we take out what we made in EMS billing revenue, and these ladies do an amazing job. They're above 90% collections, which is 30% above most collections agencies for EMS billing. So
But you
y'all
just-
see the benefit of that as well as the city in the calculation. I'm not asking for a number. I'm just trying to communicate the data that came from last fiscal year.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, real quick, my recommendation, because all of us have so much on our plates. My recommendation would be to maybe set up a forum between y'all's entity and our entity to get the details and specifics, Mr. Chairman, like you mentioned. I'd like to see numbers, not just data. I want to see numbers to say, you know what, as a county commissioner, I should be obligated to protect all of our citizens. And it's like due diligence that we pay you guys. I would like to see that, because I'm not going to make a decision today based on too many unknowns of everything, and then data's being thrown out, but it's data.
It's just information.
Yes, and I think that we do need to pay, but I also think we need to do something with the volunteers just the same. I think it all needs to be the same regardless.
Well, I don't think you can compare the run volume that we have to a volunteer department with anywhere from 600 to 1,000 calls outside the municipality of Portales a year. I don't think any of these gentlemen want to try to absorb that with their volunteer agents.
No, I understand that, but what
Okay.
I'm saying is that's for you. You're a paid thing. These are volunteers that are going out there, and I know that they don't have the funding source that you guys
Well,
have.
and
So they're
I
having to
applaud
struggle
them, and
just
I
the
think
same.
that they need to work with their municipalities and y'all to find their agreements as well. But I don't have any say in their fight.
Right.
Well, I live in town, guys, and I know how busy you guys are every single day, 24/7. So no, that's not comparing apples to apples, but I would also like the record to reflect that I support you guys, what y'all do
Mhm.
wholeheartedly. So there's got to be a happy median, but I think it's got to be two separate issues that we deal with. We need to deal with the municipality, City of Portales, fire chief and his staff. And then on a separate note, we need to deal with the volunteers and see how we can benefit them more as well. But I think it's got to be two separate issues. But all of us can still partake in everything like we are right now.
Yeah.
So that would be my recommendation. And I'm not speaking for the board, just for the record.
Well,
I'm
and
speaking for myself.
I totally agree with that. And Tina and I had discussed during one of our negotiations that we used to do a lot of stuff for in kind.
Mhm.
You do this, we do this. There was a lot of back and forth sharing, and I think that we do need, your department needs money for detention. We need money for fire and EMS, but we need to keep our citizens first. And, maybe look at going back to some of that in-kind stuff, even though we both need funding.
Right. And I think we talked about that one time. We talked about even doing a wash. I mean, just in kind for in kind, because it's going to change depending on what it is. But that's not going to show the bottom line for you. And it's not going to show the bottom line for us at detention.
Because y'all do so much with the medical portion of
We do.
detention.
And I mean, we could give, how much that costs us, and we have to take care of that. But we're going to have to find a way to help each other with all of it, because I don't think the city of Portales or the county of Roosevelt, either one, can handle the brunt of all of this. I think we're going to have to find a way to work together to make it work.
Well, TJ has one last slide there.
Well, no, it's
That was
covered.
it.
Yeah.
I would
Well,
like-
do
I'd like-
have the one. There's the one that Veronica's going to speak about. I will make this available if any of y'all want to come by the station and visit with me, or get my cell phone number from Tina. I'll be glad to do my best to answer questions with the information that we can provide.
You're not done yet, TJ.
Okay.
I've got a couple more
Uh,
questions as well, Commissioner.
Have you
Crystal.
made this presentation to the city council?
I have not made this specific presentation to the city council. I have made it to Chad and Veronica, because I went to the city council with a presentation that had a lot of the same information, but it wasn't identical, to get their approval to come and present, so that we can hopefully find an agreement, and hopefully we're the ones that are chosen to provide the services.
Have you been to you made a comment to me and Tina one time when we was in a meeting
Mhm.
about the 30,500 that the county's been sending you,
30,300.
or I thought it was 30,500. But anyway, the $200 don't
Yeah,
matter.
yeah.
It's 30.
You made a comment to me and Tina that you never see any of that money. And I was just wondering, have you been to the city councilman
Mhm.
and presented your case to them and say, hey,
Well, and
We
that's
need
a
to
fight
see some of
between
it.
me and my fiscal agent. If you'll go back to the funding slide, that's why I said our city funded budget is supported by, because all of our EMS billing revenue, previous one. Yeah. Next one, sorry. Yeah. Our city funded budget is supported by our EMS billing revenue, our county reimbursement for services, as well as the wildland reimbursement on grass fires supports our city budget. As I said before, we cost way more than we'll ever make. We're not intended to be a business and make money. So yes, that money does go into the general fund to help offset what we cost the city.
So I'm sorry, go ahead, Commissioner Criswell.
well, that, you know, with that being said, I think the city ought to trickle down, you know, a little bit more to you to cover some. I know 30,000 is just a drop in a bucket. You can't buy nothing for $30,000. But anyway, and then my next deal, and Amber, you can answer this. Isn't there a percentage of a tax for the fire EMS for the county
If
or
you go
for
to
the
last
fire
slide, it
EMS,
cites
you know, the
statute.
countywide tax, GRT tax, whatever, for fire and EMS?
There is an option that can be implemented.
Okay, I thought
Amber, it's on the last slide
I
if you want to pull it up.
I thought that there was one like point. We were
I didn't know this.
1/4%.
No, it's just, I put it on there because Veronica was going to speak on it. It is an option. We've looked at it as the municipality of Portales, but we do not have that taxing power as a municipality.
Right.
So we just wanted to give you this information so you could do with it as your pleasure.
And that would not only help, you know, what you would help for the city of Portales, but it'll also help your volunteer firefighters too.
It would be a ballot. So
Yep.
the question would have to be placed on the ballot and it would go to the voters for their consideration.
Referendum.
But it would be an option. And their statute reflects 1/4. There was a lot of work done on the de-earmarking on that. So I would need to talk to our local government liaison at New Mexico Tax and Rev to get all of the most current language on the options. There are some counties that have these such options imposed.
San Juan County, Taos.
Okay.
County,
on our
Seminole.
adjusted budget. We just got through going through down here at 22,200. There is a county fire gross receipts. What is that?
So the 222 fund is actually the county fire fund. So they have three funds.
That'd be for Mill and Sand and Arch.
And Arch, and they all have three funds. So
That's
as
from
you'll
the
recall
state
from
fire
our
marshal's office,
from our
correct?
budget, no, it's
No,
not.
it's not. Okay.
So from our budget workshops, they have a general fire fund where they do certain things. The federal money that we got for Arch comes through there, some of those type things. Then they have the state fire fund, which is in a separate fund. Arch and Mill and Sand are together combined. And then they have the EMS fund. So there are three funds that you have to separate all three of those monies so that they're not commingled.
Okay. So that gross receipts has nothing to do with the tax. Okay.
No, it's just the general county fire fund for these two district or departments.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions. I know, don't get impatient with me. I just need to know for knowledge purposes. On the local option vote, would that be countywide or just a municipality?
Countywide.
Okay, good. The other thing is municipalities. I know that we have the mayor from Elida here today. Would they be, and I'm going to address you. I don't mean to put you on the spot, Mayor, but how do you guys help with the volunteer firefighters, public safety within y'all's municipality? Do y'all even have an earmarked fund for that?
We do all of their grant administration. We do their paperwork for their billing and send it to third-party billing. We do we offer stipends for their run. But the reason I stood up was that there has been GRT for emergency services in Roosevelt County in the past. I'm not sure, 70s, early 80s maybe, you know stuff.
I don't know.
I ran across paperwork looking for
Yeah.
some archive stuff there in Elida one time, but it's not something that is new. It's something that has been enacted in Roosevelt County in the past.
Oh, thanks for that info, because if we do have a forum, all that information is going to be helpful. The other thing that I had was, we talked about general fund and what we're contributing right now to the city of Portales. Your general fund or the city's general fund?
It goes into the city to their general fund, then it's filtered through into our general
The
fund.
100% of what we're contributing?
Yes, because we cost way more.
I was going to say, because that should be earmarked. So thank you for that clarification. The other thing is there's lots of needs within the city. I don't want to get into that, but who's lobbying for you guys right now, even for your department?
I am a member of the Fire Chiefs Board of Directors for the state of New Mexico. I'm actually the president-elect, so I participate in lobbying that way through that
So-
role. And I'm not sure, other than Mike Miller, who said I believe the city has someone else on contract to help lobby.
Huh. Okay. Lastly, I won't be long. I'm glad we have you here because this has been on my mind. The substation in North Portales. What's the status on that?
It's actually
We fought
classified.
so hard for so many years to have a substation that represents my district,
Mhm.
North Portales, and everything west, east, and south,
Yep.
or north.
Mhm.
And what's going on there? Such a beautiful facility, and
It is, and I credit Chief Knuckles and Mike Inge and Sammy Standifer and council for all the work that they did to obtain that $1.7 million station. Chief Knuckles did a great job of rolling over $500,000 for the initial down payment, and the city kicked in $200,000. And then now the remaining million falls on us as a fire department that's paid out of our fire fund. Now, as far as staffing that station, right now, half of our operational staff is 1 year or less experience. It would not be safe for the personnel or the community for me to send 3 people that are untrained, uncertified to be over there. Can they find an address? Can they pump a truck? Do they have any EMS certification? I was asked in a tour of Station 2, the one we were talking about, when do I want to staff it? I said, tomorrow. But realistically, I have to look not just tomorrow, next week, next year. We have to do it in a way that's safe for our first responders and safe for the community.
I agree. And I've talked to a lot of BNSF representatives over the years, and, the stoppage of trains has decreased. But the fact of the matter is, just God forbid anything bad happens where the trains are stopped and we have a major incident in our side of the town. And we fought so hard. I mean, I remember when I was commissioner in 2000, we were addressing this, and I'm just lost for words.
I appreciate that sentiment, but the more concerning statistic is the 800 times so far this year that our response capability has been overran, where we don't have enough people to respond to the number of emergencies coming in at one time. That's the greatest frequency. And honestly, the main reason that we built the new station was because we needed more people to run those calls, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. That's all I have, Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a comment?
Please, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Lopez, I agree 100%. North side of the track needed a station many, many years ago. We finally got it built over there. It is what it is. But looking into the future and going back in my career, I've networked with many fire chiefs, county chiefs, EMS, both. And the bottom line is we've got maybe 10 years as our fire departments are stating, but ambulance services are going to be privatized. I don't care how bad you hate it and how many times you say no. The challenges are already upon us and have been for 15 years. Training, number one. You saw the number of hours required by the state. It's ridiculous, okay? Retention, keeping employees, and just attracting employees has become a struggle, and more than that, a huge challenge. These folks don't want to work for small departments. Small fire departments love them to death. These guys will do anything for us, and we'd do anything for them. But it's going to go away. The fire side of it, I can't say because there's not as much stringent training. Okay? But on the EMS side, it's gonna privatize. And at the end of the day, you're gonna go out to RFPs. Portales may do the same thing. Every little town, including the county, will go out for RFPs. You're gonna get bid. And at that point, there will be no negotiating. I will give you this for that in kind here. That ain't gonna happen. Back to your taxpayers, Mr. Dixon. They're not gonna love it because it's gonna cost a ton of money for privatized service to run Elida, Dora, Portales, Roosevelt County. And what we're talking about right here is a drop in the bucket of what is going to happen in the next decade. You may not be here, I may not be here, but it's going to happen. So, thanks for listening.
Thank you.
And you are correct, Veronica, because I did look into that private ambulance service. They are ridiculously high. Yeah, it's very high. I know that Chaves County does the private ambulance.
Lincoln County.
Well, your first
Lincoln.
RFP will be pretty good. When they have to come back and you have no one else left,
Mhm.
the second one is not gonna be pretty good. And you can talk to Roswell and a lot of fire EMS chiefs that saw this happen and it's still happening.
Mhm.
And up to the extent of 5 times higher than your initial RFP once the contract's up.
Well, and that's my biggest push is we are the most economic and the best quality service model for our area because we are dual role. We don't just do EMS, we don't just do fire, we do both. So all of our personnel are dual trained. So it allows for the overall cost, whether they're going out for RFP for fire and EMS, is actually less because I just did a full study on comparing us to the city of Grants. Their initial agreement with the private ambulance service was about $150,000, which is super cheap. The second one came in at about 1.5 million because there's no way to make money in EMS the way it used to be. It has to be subsidized by those that are wanting to provide that service because of insurance, because of the PRC tariff, and so on. So again, I appreciate your time. And if you have questions, feel free to reach out to me, email me, call me. I'm good. Come by the house. We can drink a glass of tea. I mean, the house may be a little messy with my 2 wild boys, but that's okay.
Well, and I just wanted to add one more thing is that, our citizens know our guys and our guys know our citizens, whether you're city, county, it doesn't matter. We're all neighbors. So we're all wanting to help. If we have to privatize something, we're not going to get that special home feel.
I'd like to echo what this gentleman said and what this gentleman said a little while ago is, and I'm going to use the example of what we've paid over the last 8 years for medical services at our detention center. We're at their hands and it's privatized and it's increased tenfold because our hands are tied. Statute states that we need to have it. We're going to have it. We're mandated to have it. But then again, our hands are tied because we have to fess up with the money that they requested their RFP. So good point. Good point.
And I would like to mention as far as statute, the EMS statute says that a municipality or county may provide those services. But numerous of us or all of us are PRC certified. So that puts us in a different classification as far as that statute.
Well, Chair, I'd just like to say one thing, and it's to the fellow councilmen and to us board members. Y'all need us and we need y'all for the county. So we've got, you tell those, you go back to the council meeting, you tell them tonight, we need to figure out something. We need to get this done, settled somehow, some way. And like I say, my dad's retired fireman for 30 years over Lubbock. And like I said, we got to have y'all, but y'all have got to have us too. So, and we got to figure something out.
Yep.
Thank you, TJ.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. Javier, I think we're nearly next down to you. Discussion update digital communications. Platforms long-term dispatch. Johnny, you too.
Johnny's gonna lead us off.
I'm not letting you off the hook, buddy.
So hello, good afternoon. It's not afternoon yet, but good morning, Chairman, Commissioners.
You're
So
gonna have
we're
to use the
trying to get
microphone.
So we're just trying to figure out where we're gonna be at as far as the dispatch services. I mean, not dispatch service, but where we're going with dispatch service. Are we still gonna move forward? Are we looking at other things? What's our intention? Because we
I
have a lot
thought
of work to
I
do.
thought we've already agreed.
So-
I thought
thought-
and said that move forward, we want to go with Lee counties.
Okay, now
I think Javier,
Yeah. So my last conversation with Angela, I was speaking with her, and when I spoke with her, she said that her board had talked to some of the commission on our board, and there was some kind of misunderstanding where they thought that our board wasn't wanting to go forward because they wanted everybody to go at once. So they're wanting Portales and Roosevelt County,
I haven't talked to anybody.
the county fire and EMS, stuff like that. So just wanted to get some clarification, not only on that, but also moving to digital radios throughout, for our end of it. So that's why we were just asked to be on the
Well,
agenda.
I feel like, it'd be probably great if everybody moved the city and the county all at one time. It'd be wonderful. But I think we as the board is ready for the county to move forward with this. And I thought we made ourselves clear earlier in the year. That's our intentions.
Easy enough. So last time I talked to Angela, she said that there was some equipment that they were planning on getting rid of at one point in time, but it was equipment that's going to be used if and when it does happen, that they would have that equipment ready to go. So, and they're still in the position of they're wanting to negotiate with Portales as well and try to see if everybody would go at once. I don't know if they've reached out or one way or the other, but that might be on the topic prior to. Maybe that might be a funding source where they can save some money and kind of reallocate that funding to the fire department as well. So I just wanted to make sure we're all still on the same page. That way we can move forward.
I think we're on the same page. Go on. Move forward. Press on.
I just say there's been no interaction between myself and any commissioner from Lee County.
Okay.
I haven't.
As I understood it, the last time we were discussing this, I was in favor of moving to regional dispatch. And my opinion has not changed, and I haven't had any communication with any other commissioner from any Lee County or to indicate otherwise to them. So I don't know where they're getting that information.
And for what it's worth, just for the record, since Janelle's taken over the dispatch here, it's, 10 times better than what it was. So anytime there's any kind of issues or whatever, we call her and she addresses it right away. So that aspect, it has improved tenfold. So just for the record.
Okay.
Javier, I just know that I was down there at a meeting, and anyway, I did run into Mr. Jackson, the chair down there. After you told me what you had heard, I asked him, I said, hey, what is there a misunderstanding between our board and your board about wanting to move communications down there? And he says, I know nothing of it. So as far as he's concerned, he hadn't heard anything about us not wanting to.
Okay.
So.
Well, I don't know where that started, but that
Don't
would be
either.
something that was relayed to me from.
But I did, after we
communications
talked,
supervisor.
I did talk to him.
Ms. Hamilton, do you have anything to add?
No, I just we have a budget that we need to get expended. So it's all about planning and figuring out what we're going to do with the enhancements for the radio services and making those adjustments. So we just needed clear direction.
Yeah, and I do have got with Dustin. He's looking at what it's going to cost to move us digital, regardless of what happens. But I know the city of Portales is going digital. Eastern's already ready to go. So everybody is going to go digital at some point in time. So we just need to be prepared for that, regardless of what happens. So Dustin's getting some numbers on that. So maybe we can look at using ARPA funds or something for digital radios. But most of our vehicles and handhelds are already digital capable. They're not running digital, they're running analog. But it's just a programming deal as So when it happens, everybody will just have to go take their units in, take their handhelds, get it all switched over. So, but that's what we're working on as well. So
Okay.
that's all I have.
Thank you, Javier.
Thank you.
Johnny, thank you, sir. Don't go very far, Johnny. I think we need you. Okay, moving to 9C, request for approval of type 3B summary subdivision replat of lot 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And you're on.
I'm on. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Chairman, Commissioners, both of these are in the city of Portales. Most of the work, the city of Portales did all the work. This is where we're just trying to finalize these two. Mr. Robbins has applied for a semi-replats of lot 7 through 12 in block 84 in the original town subdivision. Of course, the replat is located in section 26, township 1, range 34 east of the old town subdivision. Of course, it's in the city limits of Portales, located east of the CNS Yule Yard, just right across the street from it. That's where it's at. So whenever they propose it and they're going to replat it, it's from 7 to 12. Now they're going to create 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 lots. It's on 0.966 acres of land. The maximum and the minimum lot size is 0.161 acres in size. Of course, it falls under our Article 6 summary review. According to the city, when I talked to Ms. Kelly, there was no adverse opinions from utility or landowners. It has been approved by the city. The replat has met all the rules for the county. According to our subdivision ordinance, I ask for your approval.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve agenda item 9C as presented by Mr. Montiel.
Second.
Motion made and second to approve 9C. Roy Lee?
Yes.
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 5 yes votes. Moving on, Johnny, to 9D.
Okay, same thing. Mr. Grego for G4 Investments has applied for the replat of the northeast block of 14 in the Leach Town site subdivision, where it's located in 35, one south, 34 east. Again, it's in the city municipalities. It's at the southwest corner of the intersection of South Avenue G and West 15th Street. It's being divided into 4 lots, lots 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's on 1.194 acres of land. Whenever they did this one, they did the lots in square footage. So the minimum is 8.337 square feet, and the maximum is 13,429 square feet. It falls under our Article 6 summary review. No adverse opinions from the city or from utilities and landowners. It has been approved by the city and has met all of our rules and regulations. So I ask for your opinions, approval.
I'll move we approve.
Second.
Have we got a motion to approve and a second on 9D? Dennis?
Yes.
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 5 yes votes. Motion passed. Thank you, Johnny. County calendar. Mrs. Hamilton.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Commissioner. So this was included in your packet. We tried to take all your requests into consideration. Mr. Lopez, you specifically didn't want any meetings after holidays. So we got most of that worked out except in November because of the canvassing of the vote. That one would follow the Veterans Day holiday. That's the only one that really had a direct comparison. Everything else is relatively the same. In April, it would have that Monday following Easter instead of taking Good Friday. We asked everyone. We only heard back from one elected official that voted for Monday. So that's in consideration. Everyone else was neutral, just to ensure everything scatters out. So I would just ask for your approval.
Mr. Chairman, with that being said, I move to approve agenda item 9E as presented by our county manager.
Second.
Motion made and second to approve 9E.
Yes.
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 5 yes vote.
Thank you.
9F, discussion review of the FY 2025 capital outlay lay priorities. Ms. Hamilton.
Yes, sir. So, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, these were included in your packet. We typically focus on the top 5 in our packet. Historically, the Commission has set road improvements as your top priority. We also have the Roosevelt County Courthouse. The Commission did fund the replacement of the doors and the entrances. We also will have the repointing of the brick and several other potential renovation projects there. We're asking for heavy equipment in the road department. As you all know, we need one is the broom. That's the first one at $85,000 and change. And then at $425,000 is the distributor truck and chip spreader. To be able to continue on with our road chipping and everything along those lines. And then we also have our regional behavioral health facility. We've secured the first 10 million of that. The county has also contributed funds toward that. We are continuing in the phase 2 of the feasibility study along those guides. But these are always discussion topics that come up as we prepare for the legislative session and to keep those top of mind. We can discuss the road projects further in our upcoming road workshop, but I would stand for any questions in regards to our ICIP listing and those top 5.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't hear fairgrounds, or did you? Do we have fairgrounds on that list?
Fairgrounds is number 6.
Okay. See, we need to move that up, guys. I've got 1 year left. And that's for the betterment of the whole county. The whole county.
That's good enough like it is, isn't it?
Ms. Hamilton, since we still need $885,000 for the courthouse renovations, are we going to leave that up there as a second priority to see if we get the funding for the grant for that, or?
So it is a priority because we've got to repoint the brick, and they're telling us it's going to be about $500,000. That is definitely something that would be a great project for capital outlay, whether we get all of it or not. Sometimes, we may get 200,000, 300,000, 400,000. We may not get the full cost, like the road barn. We got about a third of what it costs to construct that. So those stay on there. This is how it's listed, and this is what y'all approved. At this point, we're just trying to revisit, make sure it's fresh on top of y'all's minds as you're talking to our legislators and potential new legislator on our requests. So important y'all all know what we're asking for and what we need here. It's great timing. Yes. But the road equipment is one of those that obviously is very much a priority. We've been utilizing and borrowing a piece of equipment, a chip spreader, specifically from Eddy County. They were in a much different situation. They have like 3 or 4 units. So we were able to borrow one from them to finish our projects. We were delayed several weeks. So very thankful to Eddy County for partnering with us on that one.
I know I ask this question all the time when we talk about monies and capital outlay, but our federal funds can't be utilized for any of these projects?
We've been utilizing the federal funds, the federal ARPA funds. The dispatch is going to pretty much the transition to digital and all of those capabilities. We expect that that's going to really finalize the expenditure because we still have the emergency operations center that we're building out for all of Roosevelt County and the city of Portales. That one will take up a chunk of the federal funds as well. So there's not much left in the ARPA pocket at this point.
Let's use it up.
Oh, yes.
That was a good little chunk of change.
Yes,
Can
sir.
we not swap the courthouse and the fairgrounds? I agree with.
I think it could be.
I said, couldn't we swap the courthouse and the fairgrounds? I mean, the fairgrounds is something that I think we need to get done. And I mean, she's right.
Well,
He's
we've
right. That
gone
is a
through
huge.
several phases of it. Why not complete it?
That's what
before
I'm saying.
Before I leave my office.
We could
I
swap
want
the
to do my
fairgrounds and the courthouse on the ICIP.
baby. I would love to do that. Thank you,
I would
Commissioner
too.
Dixon.
Well, I'll make a motion to swap the fairgrounds and the courthouse.
I'll second.
we'll have to check with the state to see if we can still modify those ICIP listings.
Okay, so do we need to take action though? Because there's a motion on the floor. What's second? Do we need to take
You're
action,
gonna have to at
Mr.
this
Chairman?
point.
Sure. Motion been made and second to flip flop the fairgrounds to the courthouse. Roy Lee.
Yes.
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 5 yes votes. Motion passes. Now, are we ready to move on to these patient gentlemen that's been waiting?
Believe so. The microphone is keyed up.
I don't have anybody in line, so I would appreciate it if y'all would decide who wants to go first and who wants to go last. I don't care.
Mike Nivers go first. I think going first. Yeah, that's actually true. You want me to go first? You go first. I'm here at the closest. You're closest, yes.
Yeah, since you're closer, please do.
Education, water, and energy. Mr. Chairman, members of Roosevelt County Commission, my name is Travis Glenn, and I'm here today asking for your support for your nomination to send me my name to the governor to replace Stuart Ingle's seat, or replace Stuart Ingle in that seat. I've lived in District 21 all my life. In 1965, my parents moved from Elida to Tatum and started a water well business there. And I've been continuing that with my family now. Water is a critical issue to everybody in District 27. And I've worked with landowners. I've worked with government agencies. I've worked with the BLM, the State Land Office, the State Engineer's Office. And I like to think that I can work between the two different places that sometimes you have an argument there between landowners and government agencies. Government agencies stand in the way of people trying to do things, and I will be an advocate to help people when they are in a bind with the different agencies in the state. I've been on the school board for 30 years, and I know how the PED and the Department of Health and Santa Fe has really hurt our kids the last several years. I witnessed firsthand how the Department of Health and the PED ridiculed parents for standing up and believing that they should have a say in the things that are going on in their kids' education. I believe that local control is critical in our education. New Mexico consistently ranks near the bottom of all kinds of different studies on education, and the only thing that's been consistent in that is the Santa Fe has had their hand on the back of local school boards all that time. I've worked. I'm also on the board at New Mexico Junior College, and I've worked across both sides of the aisle in that capacity, and I will take that with me to Santa Fe. I believe that today's Democratic Party is not the same as your father's Democratic Party. I believe somebody has to take that message up there and work with those traditional Democrats and give them a reason to vote for their values instead of for the party. Energy, I sit on the board at Lee County Electric, and we have some of the cheapest electricity in the state and in the nation there in Lee County. I know some of the issues that are coming up with electricity. The governor has her clean car mandate, and that's going to require 85% of the vehicles sold in New Mexico to be green. And right now, we do not have the infrastructure to take care of that. We're going to have to upgrade our electrical grid to do that. The governor and the legislature has shut down power plants in the northwest part of the state, and it's almost impossible to open a power plant or any other kind of industry in New Mexico because of the different regulations and just the attitude that Santa Fe has toward business. I'm not opposed to electric cars, but I am opposed to the government forcing it down our throat. So with that, I again ask you to send my name to the governor, and I'll stand for any questions.
I don't have a question, but I would like to thank you.
Yeah.
After being on the school board for several years and understanding what BED and the Secretary of Education has put us through and how it set our kids behind. I mean, you're preaching to the choir there.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate your comments there. I think that's something as a legislator we need to be looking at, is returning to a state school board with elected representation from each region instead of Secretary of Education responsible to the governor. Because it doesn't make any difference who, if it's Republican governor or it's a Democratic governor. They want to keep the thumb on education, and we need equal representation from all the regions. So I really appreciate your comments there.
Thank you.
Travis, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Travis.
Thank you.
No, I failed to go ahead and sit down, Travis, but I failed to set a time frame, and he spoke for around 4 minutes or so. So let's try to keep it around 4 or 5 minutes. And
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission and staff and guests and fellow nominees for this post, I'm humbled to be here. I'm humbled to have been asked by people in my community, my home county, to step up and make this a possibility for keeping this seat in our county. And I'm very humbled and honored to think that I might be considered to be worthy of such that. Senator Engel, good friend of mine, has been for many years. I've worked with him, and I've always told people that every time I went to Santa Fe, when he went to Santa Fe, I always knew that I was going to be fairly represented, because I always felt like he was there for the people, and he was there for all of the people. And that's kind of what I think too. I'm a people person, and I really believe in the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And I believe in the Constitution. I believe it's just fine the way it is. I don't think it needs to be changed. I think we just need to read it a little closer and a little better, and stand by it and try to live by it. But my great-great-granddad, a man named Bill Littlefield, about 1880, moved to Bosque Grande down there northeast of Roswell, right on the river, and established a ranch there. He came here with the LFD crew, his brother George Littlefield, and had that. And one day he was trotting across there horseback coming to Portales. There was a land office here in Portales in the early 1880s, and he was coming to do some business there at the land office, and he trotted across something there right north of Kenna that kind of caught his eye, and it turned out to be a spring of water. And he fooled around there and got it traded. There were some horse hunters around there that had possession of it, and he got it, and we're still there. We've been there ever since about 1882. And there's been no break in the ownership of the land. We've all been there. Some of us kind of slipped over to Texas for a while, but we still kept the ranch, and I got there as quick as I could. I love Roosevelt County. I love the people of Roosevelt County. I've got a little bit of legislative experience, but I've got a whole lot of want to. I want to serve. I've told the other places I've spoken, I thought my public service days were over when I finished 11 years on the executive board of New Mexico Cattle Growers, but God wouldn't let me give it up. Driving down the road, it was just, I've got to give this a go. So I appreciate your consideration. I will do the very best job I can if nominated to do this. And y'all just hang in there and holler at me. But we the people, that's what I hang on. We the people. Any questions?
Thank you,
Okay.
Pat.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Boone. Marker, Larry Marker.
I appreciate you guys having me here today. You've got my resume. I'm familiar with a few of you, or actually I'm familiar with you. More than anything, I'm just going to tell you what you're going to get today is the same thing you always get. You're just going to get me. Sometimes I get a little passionate and I'm always going to speak from the heart, and I'm just going to be honest and open with you. As far as this Senate position, I believe Mr. Engel actually gave us a unique opportunity here. We're going to be running for obviously we're going to have a primary here in 6 months, and I do plan to run for District Senate 27 as a Republican. I definitely plan to run, but looking at this, and I considered not even putting my hat in the ring for this appointment, but I decided that would be a little bit weak on my part. And obviously I never want to even have that. I don't even want to approach that. So anyway, what I'm going to do, what I did is I devised a plan, an agenda, whatever you want to call it. I believe I can leverage this position. I believe we can leverage this position to promote some of the grassroots, some of the patriot grassroots organizations, whatever you want to call it. We can leverage this position to add some legitimacy to these projects that I have going around the state, the referendum project, the Enabling Act project. I'm looking at the Home Rule Validation Act. I'm looking at what we can do with that. We haven't even scratched the surface of what our Constitution will allow us to do outside of Santa Fe, New Mexico. Any of these guys, we're all gonna go to Santa Fe, and I can promise you, any of these four men, we will vote the exact same way in that 30-day session. There's no doubt in my mind. These are all good, conservative, hardworking guys. Okay, and I have great respect for all three of these guys. We're going to go up to Santa Fe for that 30-day session, and we're all going to basically vote the same way. My agenda or my plan is, my strategy is yes, I'm going to go up there. I'll do my job like I'm supposed to do. I'll try to get along with as many people as possible, except for people on the other side. I will never, ever, ever compromise my integrity or my principles. You do not negotiate with a bunch of rotten individuals. I almost said a bad word, with rotten individuals that are hell-bent on your destruction. I will not reach across the aisle and get along with anybody that I know was trying to destroy our way of life. Let that be known, and I think you guys probably already know that. My plan is we're going to have that 30-day session, but prior to that session and then after that session, I'll be able to leverage a Senate seat in all over the state of New Mexico in the various different projects I have going, whether I'm going to an event or I'm going to a county commission meeting or a training event or whatever county I'm in. It adds a lot more legitimacy to these grassroots projects and the projects that I'm involved in. Some of them I'm spearheading, and several of them I'm spearheading. You all know that I can use that title as state senator to add legitimacy and get a little bit more energy generated in these projects. That is my plan. Obviously, we all have our plans in life. We all have our strategies. You guys may not agree with this. I will let you know, and this is from the bottom of my heart. If you guys don't pick my name, I'm not going to have a hint of ill feelings at all. I'm going to fight just as hard for you and the rest of the citizens of the state of New Mexico as I ever have. You just have a different plan than I have. I understand that, and I greatly respect that. And I respect the time that you guys take to listen to me, because sometimes I agree I'm probably a little bit of a pain in the rear. But anyway, what I will tell you is when I go to Santa Fe, I'll do my job in Santa Fe, but the advantage we're going to have by choosing me, if we were to submit me to the governor, if the governor would actually pick my name, we would have basically a year's worth of, this is not picking Larry Marker for a Senate seat. This is picking us for a Senate seat. This is picking all the grassroots organizations all over the state of New Mexico, all of the people that have supported me through thick and thin. You guys are some of those, and I appreciate it. That's all I've got to say today. And like I said, you're just always just going to get me, and that's all you're going to get. And I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Greg.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Commissioners, I appreciate the opportunity today to stand before you and ask you to place my name in nomination to the governor for appointment of our longtime Senator Stuart Engel. He leaves a legacy that's going to be difficult for anyone to fill. What is it that I bring to the table? Because that's really what you all need to know. What is it that Greg Nybert brings that these other men don't bring? Because I think, as they've said, you guys have a hard choice. You have a difficult position. Mr. Marker said we're all going to vote the same. I would concur with that. We generally do that as conservatives from the eastern side of the state. But what does Greg Nybert bring? I've given you my resume. I've made some statements. I think if you look at the resume, you'll find that I've been active in my church, been active in my profession, both locally and nationally, been active in the community, involved in civic clubs, Little League coaching, the whole gamut, the Chamber of Commerce, have been active there, been active in local politics. I was Chaves County chair of the Republican Party ages ago, but some time ago. Been involved in elections at all levels, from Senator Domenici to President Bush to local elections. So I've been involved in that. I've been utilized by the state party to go to Doñana County on election day and make sure that things were not getting too out of hand there. And time or two, we had to call in the state police there. I've been there. I've been involved in recounts for the Gore Bush recount, Aubrey Dunn's recount in the 5th Judicial District, which is Eddy, Chaves, and Lee counties. I've done that. I'm now active with the state, representing the state on the Uniform Law Commission and also the Energy Council and its executive board. The Energy Council deals with energy issues nationwide, trying to keep our grid safe, trying to keep our oil and gas industry on its feet, not just to have domestic production, but for national security and other reasons. I serve as a Republican whip in the House of Representatives currently. I think if you look at all that, it means that I have the experience. In 64 days, one of us will be going up to Santa Fe to represent District 27. And they're going to be there for 30 days representing your constituents and that district's constituents. I think that in light of that time frame, experience matters. I think you need someone who can hit the ground running, and I submit to you that that is what would set me apart and why appointing me or nominating me to the governor for this appointment for a 30-day session is what I'm requesting and what I ask you to do. I thank you for your time. I thank Ms. Hamilton for coordinating with Curry County. It's been a busy morning. We've been in Curry County. We're now here, but I appreciate you all accommodating us so we can make both meetings. I think it's important for us to talk to you straight up. I hope you feel we've done that. And if you have any questions of any of us, please ask if there's no one else.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg, very much.
Greg.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for any of the? Okay. Well, at this point in time, I'm going to open the floor up to nominations for the candidate for our county.
Chair,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to nominate Pat Boone.
Second.
Okay. Any
Mr.
further?
Chair, I would like to nominate Greg Nybert.
Okay. Do you have a second?
Doesn't require a second.
Doesn't require a second. Okay. Okay, we have two men that have been nominated. And think we'll take a vote on Pat Boone first. So all that's in favor of Pat Boone. Roy Lee,
Yes.
Yes.
Tina? Yes.
Yes.
No.
And we have a 4-1 tally. So I'm assuming Pat Boone will be our representative. And Greg, we appreciate your
Nominee.
being here very much.
Appointed nominee.
Huh?
He'll be the appointed nominee goes to the governor's office.
That's right.
Right.
So appreciate all of you guys being here, and good luck in your election. Greg, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, you all had a question about the capital outlay process. I think as long as you let your elected representatives know what your priority is, it doesn't matter where it is on the list, as long as the representatives and the senator knows where you all have your priority. I think they generally try to follow what your priority is. So it doesn't matter if the state moves it up or down, as long as you all communicate with them what your priority is. So that clarifies it.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. Okay, next on our agenda is executive session, and I know y'all like our comfortable chairs, but we'll probably have to ask you to leave.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you, sir. Y'all have a good, you'll be here. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
You need a recess or anything?
Yeah, I don't. Everybody's
Yes,
tripping
yes,
over-
yes, yes, I
tripping
need
over
to.
Well, do it quickly. Get ready.
You want to go in and do that first?
One time, you got your fair out of training.
We gotta go into executive session. Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Do I need to read this first? Pursuant to 10-15-1 NMSA 1978 H2 Limited Personnel Matters 7, attorney-client privileged information pertaining to threatened or pending litigation, specifically Hernandez versus Roosevelt County, Permian Basin Petroleum Association, ETAL versus DOI, counties versus GSD. That's it.
Okay. Motion made and second to go into executive session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We are now in executive session.